Hello everyone, and welcome back to another remote sensing lecture video. And in this lecture video, I want to sort of take our discussion on platforms and take our discussion on the theoretical aspects of remote sensing from the first 3 weeks and tie them all together in what I would consider to be the first most important step on our journey through remote sensing, which is how do we take all that information and use it to decide and make decisions on what types of imagery we should use for a given application. And the way that I think is best to approach this is with a series of questions. And what I want to do in this video is go through the questions, sort of explain what the question's asking and what sorts of answers you might expect to get or give. And then in another video, go through a couple of examples of how I would apply these questions to a concrete example. So again, how do you select imagery? How do you figure out what sensor is best suited for your application? And so the first and most important question I would always start off with is, what is the purpose of the imagery? What is the purpose of the imagery or of the image? And what I mean by that is, are you classifying? Or are you digitizing / visualizing? Are you visualizing? Now, classifying and visualizing, these terms may not make a whole lot of sense to you now, but by the end of the semester, when we've gone through digitizing and we've gone through classification algorithms, right, these terms will make a lot more sense. But for right now, you can sort of think of this question as boiling down to the question of, do you need to access Sorry, that got really bad. Do you need to access Do you need to be able to access the pixel values? Do you need to be able to access the pixel values? And I know this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so I actually want to go through an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to hop back over to Arcgis Pro here for a second. And I want to sort of slide the screen over slightly so that we can see the contents pane and the map pane. So you're going to see here what looks to be part of an activity 2. You can ignore that for a second. But what I want to talk about is this idea of what I mean when I say, are we using it for classification or for visualization? And I think this planet image here is a good case for if we wanted to be able to access the pixel values. And what I mean by that is, if I were to click somewhere on the image, right, you'll see that I'm able to access the red value, the green value, and the blue value of the planet image. Okay? And so what that means is I can feed that information into an algorithm that can do a lot of really cool things for me. Right? But let's say that I'm just trying to make a map and all I want is a base map, something that will give the user some visual context of like where roads are or where buildings are. Or maybe I'm simply trying to trace out on a screen the Long Island Expressway. right? In that case, I don't really need access to all the pixel values, right? I don't need access to the information contained in the pixels. I just need to be able to see what they look like. And in that case, what I can do is I don't have to bother going on the internet and downloading an image and dealing with all of the hassle of that, right? I can just open up something like Google Earth, or in this case, right, I can use imagery that's provided by Esri, right? And you'll see here that this is high resolution imagery. I can digitize on this all day long, right? I can see the roads, but if I click on it, right, you'll notice that nothing happens. That's because this type of imagery, they've sort of locked away those pixel values in an effort to make the imagery, the file size is smaller, right? To shrink that data volume down as small as possible so that we can get the entire high resolution imagery, right? And I can pan through it, right? All of that comes because we've locked those pixel values, right? We've compressed this image down as much as possible so that it moves around and it's transferred through the internet as quickly as possible, right? But I can't do anything else with it, right? I can't, for example, if I were to pull up Planet again, and let's zoom back to layer so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Okay, right? So again, right, one example is I can digitize off of this, right? For Planet, if I click it, right, I get the pixel values. Something else that I can do with Planet, right, is I can go and I can change the band order. And we're going to talk a lot more about this later. So if this doesn't make sense, that's okay, right? But I can play with what spectral regions are being displayed, right? So I can do all kinds of visualizations, data visualizations. Right? I can alter the data. Right? That's the key thing here is, will I need to be able to alter the data? If the answer is yes, then I probably need to go find imagery that I can download and have control over. If the answer is no, I don't need to alter the data, then I can probably just use some sort of image archive like the Esri base map or Bing Maps or Google Earth or something like that, something that's already been sort of pre-generated, pre-cached. I have no control over it other than being able to sort of pan around and look at it. I know that was a long-winded explanation, but hopefully that makes sense. The idea that if I don't need to do anything to the data, I can use these pre-generated base maps. If I need to edit the data, if I need to do a classification, if I need to be able to go in and change what spectral regions are displayed, if I need to do any of that kind of stuff, if I need to mess with the actual pixel values, then I'm going to have to go through the process of finding a data source and curating it myself. Hopefully that makes sense. If there are any questions, actually, no, let's go ahead really quickly and let's sort of clarify that. Right? Let's sort of clarify that with what we just said, right? Basically, to sort of, are you classifying versus are you digitizing? Do you need to be able to access the pixel values? Or put another way is, do you need to alter the data? Right? If I'm just trying to digitize something, if I'm just trying to give someone some context, right, I can use those base maps just fine. If I need to do a classification, if I need to change the band assignments so that we can see different regions of the electromagnetic spectrum, then I'm going to have to go through and actually acquire data from a source. So hopefully that made sense. If any of this was confusing, I encourage you to pause the video, go back, rewatch the part you're confused about, and as always, please reach out. Thank you.